Well, these two little bits of gold are pretty famous now because the video that I featured them in, talking about my customer experience with the Royal Mint and the fact that I view that the Royal Mint is in some serious trouble right now, got 30,000 views in the first day and a half, and it's still ticking up. Maybe we're going to make a difference. And you know what? We are making a difference because just today alone, I've received an email from none other than Anne Jessup, the CEO of the Royal Mint, which I think is quite impressive considering I was very critical of Anne Jessup in my video and her leadership and the direction she's taking the Royal Mint, and the £49 million loss that the Royal Mint made before tax write-offs last year. But we've had some updates, and that video going viral, I think we are seeing the tide turning. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for another precious metal ramble where we have down-to-earth discussions about all things precious and shiny. And oh boy, the video about the Royal Mint that I did last weekend, did not expect that to get quite as many views as it has. We're at like 33,000 views plus and counting. And wow, it did escalate rather quickly, didn't it? Feel a bit like Ron Burgundy from Anchorman. But yeah, it's interesting, and there is a few little updates to share for you all. For the summary of those that perhaps haven't seen it, and the vast majority of you probably have, the Royal Mint have cancelled a bunch of orders that I placed, even prior to some of the rather large increases in gold price, and it's just really poor. The customer service experience I had was exceptionally poor, and my video was talking about that experience, about why I feel like it's just not good enough, and why there has to be some form of change. And I have had a reply, an email from, and you won't believe me until I share the screenshot. In fact, let me get the screenshot now. I've had an email from none other than Anne Jessup, the CEO of the Royal Mint. So there it is. You can have a read of it, but it's not particularly long. And listen, it doesn't have a great deal of substance at this time in there. But the simple fact that the CEO of the Royal Mint has, I hope, watched the video that I did and shared my feedback on that whole experience for me, and has taken the time to reply, considering I was not that pleasant. I mean, I was polite, but very critical of Anne Jessup in that video. I called for her resignation. I even called her out on her bonus that she received of £22,000 against the backdrop of £49 million lost. So to get that email was a bit of a surprise the other day. So what I wanted to do in this video is really just say that it's great to have that many views on the video, but also that I do think that we're having a for the first time, and this is it, because I've done so many videos moaning about the Royal Mint in my tenure here on this channel, but for the first time I feel like we've got their attention. We've achieved something. Maybe time will tell whether we've achieved something or not, but this feels a bit different, and it feels like the winds are changing. The winds are shifting? What's the phrase? I make up phrases on this channel. The sands are shifting and the winds are changing, I think is the phrase. And maybe for the good. I guess the proof will be in the pudding as we get through, I don't know, the next couple of weeks to see where, if any kind of resolution to the complaint happens that I've got, and or whether there is any substantial and observable change in the culture of customer services at the Royal Mint. But one thing that was really quite enlightening was from my original video from last weekend. If you haven't seen it, links in the description box below. And oh, by the way, don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe. If you're new here, that video's brought like 250 new subs to the channel alone. So welcome, hello. I like to talk about shiny things. Join me on my journey to 100,000 subs. That's what I'll say. To get that YouTube play button would be a little bucket list thing for me. But the point here is that the video went viral and so many people shared their experiences, not only in the comments section on that YouTube video, which if anyone hasn't from the Royal Mint gone and looked at, and again, maybe Anne Jessup will watch this follow-up video. And please, if you haven't done so already, go and read the comments on that video. There's a lot of them. It'll take a long time to get through them all, but there are some really, really important stories that people are sharing about their own experiences. And that was really enlightening from my perspective. I even had ideas of, because I don't really like the idea of this now that I've got a bit of hindsight, and the fact that the Royal Mint have reached out to me via Anne Jessup, but I did have an idea of like just basically sharing other people's really poor stories. Part of the problem with that is I can't fact check the story. So if I share a story and it's just somebody making up a bad story or something, then theoretically that can be sort of defamation-y, you know, and I don't like even risking that potential of being in the wrong on that. So my own customer experiences, happy to share those left, right and center. But where there is smoke, there is fire, I think is the phrase, or you can't have a fire without smoke, whatever the phrase is. I make them up, that's what I do. There are a lot of people who've had problems with the raw mint. So it does feel like the tide is turning. I'm using so many platitudes today, I can only apologize. But the tide is turning and maybe we're getting somewhere with feeding back at very least to the raw mint about these issues. And I think a lot of the points that I put in my original video do really strike true with so many different people. And I had one or two comments of people going, well, why do you put yourself through this? Why do you keep going back to the raw mint? Well, I'm holding these Queen's Beasts coins because the problem I have, the dichotomy I had with the raw mint of my relationship is that I love the products. I love the history. I love the pageantry and the royal, I mean, listen, people have their opinions on the royal family, whether it's good, bad, different monarchs, whether they're good, bad, and God knows there are some issues institutionally within the royal family at the moment with regards to some of the extended family members and decisions that they've made. I get that, I see that, but at the same time, the royals are part of British culture and history, and they have been for over 1,000 years. The reason that the Royal Mint have called their jewellery brand 886 is because the Royal Mint was founded in 886 AD. That's a long period of history that we can trace back on this tiny island that ruled the waves and conquered the world, for good or bad. I mean, listen, history is history. We can't change history. But it is something I'm passionate about. And the coins that the Royal Mint make, and when they're good, they're good. I mean, let's take, for example, this Trial of the Pix coin. This is another thing. The Trial of the Pix is something that dates back hundreds of years, 500s of years, I think, to times when gold and silver were coins. And how did people know that the coins that they had in their pockets were in fact gold and silver? Well, they were tested by the goldsmiths and the lords and ladies of the time. And this Trial of the Pix, this ritual that the UK goes through to make sure that the coin's up to standard, is incredible. The price of some of these coins that the Royal Mint likes to ask for is a little bit high on that side. But, you know, if I had this coin, and I do have this coin, if I had the choice of buying this coin at a decent price, I would buy it every day because I love it. I think it's great. The history of it. They have this whole, like, there you go, since 1282. So what's that, 900 years, give or take, 700 and 850 years of history in this institution. And that's good for me. But the direction that the Mint's taking and has taken, it's a bit sad. And so that feedback is really important. And it does feel like we're making some headway, which is great. And I want that to continue. I want the positive change to happen. And I did have a little bit of a, you know, like a negative spin on the previous video. I was critical of Jessup. I called for a resignation. I do still stand by that. I do think that a lot of the direction that the Mint has taken at the leadership and direction of Jessup and other, I guess, members of the executive board, you know, there is a CEO at the helm to blame, but there are other people that will be making decisions in a room of people. But those decisions have affected, I think, the history of the Royal Mint, the future history of the Royal Mint, if that makes sense, and where things will be in 50, 100 years. How will people look back at this period of history of the Royal Mint's history, of our British coinage legacy that we've had for over 1,000 years? And I feel like that is, you know, ultimately we are custodians of these bits of metal, these coins. And these Queen's Beast coins, I think, in my mind, they sit at like the pinnacle of Royal Mint. They certainly sit at the pinnacle of Royal Mint, like from my ownership, from my content creation here on YouTube. When I was making videos, I would be completely unsponsored by the Royal Mint. There were actually 3 videos, I think, that we did sponsored by the Royal Mint at one point, just 3 tiny little reviews of coins. But the vast majority, like 99% of all the products I've ever bought from the Royal Mint, I've filmed about, talked about, showcased here on the video, on the channels, completely out of my own volition, because I was passionate about it, because I enjoyed things about these Royal Mint coins and I love the history of them. And, you know, things change, I guess, and times change, and attitudes to different commercial decisions change. And maybe, yeah, I do have to change with the times a little bit and get into a bit of a new groove, I suppose, with the relationship that I may have with the Royal Mint over time. One thing I did say in my complaints to The lady that was dealing with my complaint, I sort of said at the end of my last, I'm very disappointed in your decision kind of email and reply to them. I said, listen, we've had a torrid relationship between Backyard Bullion and the Royal Mint. At this point, she knew it was Backyard Bullion, me as the private individual as well. But obviously, I have the power of the social media influence behind me, and not that I use that as a sort of threatening thing. Do give me the complaint or I'll make a video kind of thing. That's not what I was referring to. But I got to a point where I was just like, that there is, I think, almost like a journalistic kind of thing to talk about here, because there are other people going through the same thing. You look at Trustpilot reviews, you look at other feedback on different forums and things, and you just know that there are other people who are having issues. And I said, but as negative as I'm probably going to be in my discussion about this, and I feel like I was pretty negative, I don't like the idea of permanently ever burning a bridge. And I think I said this in my I'm done with the Royal Mint video about 18 months ago. I do think if there was some fundamental shifts and change, and we saw a change of culture and maybe saw a change of direction, or we saw some actual tangible improvements, I would be the first to sort of call that out as good. And pending any outcomes of things, I'm going to call it good that I got an email from Anne Jessup. And one of the things I said in my video, that none of the exec team have reached out to me. I have now. I can't say that they haven't now. And that arguably there's some sort of boilerplate speech in that video, in that reply. Here we go. So, thank you for sharing your feedback. I appreciate your recent experience has fallen short of the standard we expect, and I'd like to apologise for that. It's a bit boilerplatey, but the fact is it's come from Anne Jessup directly. If it come from, you see these kind of replies on Trustpilot, if it's come from her directly, and we're addressing the technical issues that you experienced on the website, and I've redacted the name of the person that is helping me, and she says, and I know that blank has been working hard to resolve your query. We are committed to offering a transparent service, and we value each customer's feedback. So that's good. I'm gonna give Anne some credit there where credit's due. But that last little sentence, we just grab that back up in front there. So we are committed to offering a transparent service, and we value each customer's feedback. Now, that's, I think, very good, but it's as good as they make it to be once we give them that feedback, which is why I think it's important for us to continue doing this kind of video, talking about some of the shortcomings, sharing those bits of feedback. It's why I would encourage all of you people right now that if you have shared something in the comments of our other video, that you email the customer services email address for the Royal Mint. I will put that, and also the head of customer services email address, which are publicly available. I'm not going to give you Anne Jessup's email address. It's probably not that difficult to find if you do a bit of a Google search, but I am not going to give that there because I think that's inappropriate. I do think, though, that if everybody wants to take a bit of time, of course you don't have to, but if you want to take a bit of time to put your issues, put your experiences into writing in a polite way. Now, we're not going to be like, I'm not anywhere near thinking about saying you need to write snotty, rude, complaining emails. And I certainly have seen some pretty rude comments, which I've been policing and throwing out some of the stupid, I was going to say it, borderline racist comments. Well, not even borderline, blatantly racist comments that are coming out. And I hate that. Put together a well-worded, polite feedback email to customer services, to the head of customer services. If you've got an account manager with the Royal Mint, put that to them as well. Share the feedback. If we act together as a community, as a unit, we have more chance of making lasting change and effect. And I do think this time it's different. I do genuinely feel that we've made some headway with this. They can't ignore a video with 33,000 views and counting. They just can't. And they haven't, because Anne Jessup's emailed me. And I hope that other people at the Mint have been taking advantage, well, not taking advantage, wrong word, taking notice of this. And I know that there are other people in the industry that have, because I've had a major bullion dealer reach out to me via private message and say that they had been referred the video from other people who have long-standing history and, upstanding, status within the bullion industry. So it's made its rounds around the important people. 33,000 views is incredible, but within those 33,000, there are some really important people who've seen the message and have been beating this drum for a long time. And to get somewhere with it finally is really nice and really, really good to see. So Let me know your thoughts, I think, as well. I don't want to... So what this channel will not turn into is just me constantly talking about the raw mint and negative things and bashing the raw mint. This is going to be it for now until we get a full resolution of the complaint. The lady that I'm dealing with about the complaint has said that there's more to tell me, but she is now on a little bit of annual leave. We can't hold her at fault for that. That's just annual leave is annual leave. So in a few weeks, I would hope I will have a follow-up, and I will share that follow-up when we get there. And hopefully within that follow-up, we'll get some more information about what went wrong, how they've addressed it, some of the measures they're going to take to fix some of the things that we've talked about. And that can only be a good thing. That's the point here. I'm not making a video just to moan. I'm making a video to effect change, and hopefully that change will come. And that's also thanks to all of you people watching. And as I said, if you have the time and the volition, share that with the raw mint. Share it on social media. Let's get them talking about some of the things that they could do better, because that's the only way that we can make them better. And I hope we can, because the raw mint does do good things. When they do it right, they do it really right. But they're doing more wrong than right at the moment, it seems. Anyway, right. That's it for me. We've done a big ramble. Thank you all for watching and for sticking with me to the back end of the video. If you are in the Cool Kids Club, what shall we say for you today? You know what? There was a really funny thing I did at the end of the big video, and somebody said that should have been the phrase. I said at the end of the last video that despite the £49 million loss, which was the cool kid phrase for that video, that Anne Jessup still got a £20,000 bonus. And I said, good for you, Anne. Have a cookie. So I think we should say in this video for the Cool Kids Club comment, it's have a cookie. So your phrase to be in the Cool Kids Club is have a cookie. We'll see you on the next video as always. Please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.